Okay, so we're starting with our Akzéntz Hybrid Pro 2.0. So you just need a little screwdriver and we're going to flip it over. And the first step is just to remove this metal plating on the bottom. It's pretty straightforward. You just start removing the screws. There is one detail though. I will just show you. There are two screws often grouped together. You only need to remove one of these two. The one that I'm pointing at now, that's the one you remove. The one that's always closest to this other kind of silver circle, do not remove that one. It's not necessary. You just want to remove the kind of solo screws up at the top. There you go. So I'm going to speed through this because nobody needs to see me take out lots of tiny little screws. But this part really doesn't take too long. Okay, so now we're ready to remove the bottom part from the top. An exciting moment and definitely a weird moment when you do it for the first time if you're not well versed in electronics like me. So what you'll see is that there's red and black wires connected to like a motherboard type thing at the top, and you need to unplug them from that top board. There are 3 connections. 2 of the connections have wires that have 2 little kind of prongs, and one of them has a wire that has 3 prongs. If you look closely, you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. I'm sorry, I did not show a close-up because it's kind of a funky angle, but you want to remove, you really only need to remove one of the wires that has 2 prongs, but you can totally remove both. You're not breaking anything. I'm going to show you how to plug it all back in. I removed both because, to be completely honest, I hadn't done this in a while and I didn't even remember which one it was. And here you see me struggling with the one with 3 prongs, and then my brain goes, wait, you don't need to remove that one. So I leave it. So I've removed 2. You see those little white things at the end of the wires? That's what I mean when I say prongs. Probably inaccurate technical term, but I'm showing you there, and I just kind of set those aside and we're going to plug them in later. One of them did not even need to be removed, but the one that's connected to the group of lights and then to the motherboard is the one you have to remove in order to effectively work like I'm doing. So now I'm just going to start removing the screws like we did before. And one little thing that I do that is probably not necessary, but I do it, helps me, is as I'm removing everything, all the different parts, I kind of place them in the same positioning as they are on the lamp, just to kind of keep track of what's going on. So you remove those 2 screws, and then you're going to take this whole plate off. And this has a few pieces on top and under the lights that come off. So you've got like these little like headlamp things, pop those right off. Boom. Yeah, they come off quite easily. And then there is this plate, and you set that all together. And then you just kind of repeat this process with all the ones on the side. The entire thing is connected, so you're going to have to take off every single LED piece. So here's me doing it in super speed, and we'll come back when I'm done. Okay, so we finished. So now an exciting moment. We get to remove the old lights. So you just take off the whole panel. They all just come out like that in one big piece. Very exciting. Yay! Okay, and now we can plug in the other wire that was unnecessarily removed, and it goes into the plug on the left, not the one that's at sort of like the top when you're looking from this angle. And now is a good moment to clean out any dust from your machine. I want it to be like super cool tech girl and use the like high speed air blower thing that we used to clean the shop at Kosmé, but the battery was dead. So I'm using a Swiffer duster. It works fine too. But yeah, definitely lots of nail dust in there. I want to get it all out. I'm putting it on my lap to keep cleaning, but you can see my little configuration above, mimicking all the screws in their original position. And now we're going to start to put the new lights on. So when you take it out of the bag, it's all in these two pieces. So you have to, of course, first break it all apart along the scored edges. Another thing that felt really scary for me the very first time I did it, I felt like I was breaking things, but you're not. Those scores are there for a reason. So you just do what I'm doing, wiggle them apart. And then this is when it gets a little weird for me. And what you'll see me doing, I'm not going to overly talk through it, but what I'm trying to do is I lay them out in the correct pattern first, just to be sure that when I start screwing them in, there aren't like wires under each other or things aren't all weird or I didn't do it backwards. You just want to start with that one that has 3 LEDs because there's only one like that, and you make sure that you put the 3 LEDs in the same configuration with the kind of triangle upwards is the only way to describe it. Then you put the ones with 2 LEDs on. Those all go on the top. And then it should very clearly flow all the ones along the side. And if they don't, maybe you've done it backwards. But it feels so weird. It feels so messy. But just fiddle. You can watch me fiddle. I kept it in here so you can see that I'm not an expert in any way. I've only done this as well. I've done it many times in my salon because we have a lot of these machines, but definitely not expert level. And so here I've kind of been satisfied with, okay, I figured out the layout. So I turn the machine and I just pop them back on the way they were. And then it's time to start screwing them in. And again, I've kind of left a lot in here just so that you can see that this does look weird. But here is a success. We're all set up because that prong that we discussed before is way at the top. You see that? That's what you want, not under anything. And we're ready to go. Thumbs up. So again, I'm going to repeat myself here, but it just is pretty important that you don't have any wires kind of crossed and everything's in the correct position before you start. So after you've done that and you feel like you've laid it out well, you can put the headlamps, definitely start on the top. It makes it a lot easier, I find. So you put those little headlampy things on, and then you got to get the plate and you put that on and make sure that's going in the same direction as it was before, of course. And then we're just going to screw that in place. You want to make sure that the headlamps are really aligned with the holes here. The other panels, the single panels, easily kind of pop in the holes, but the headlamps, you got to align them properly, and it's a bit tricky. It's all a bit finicky, and every piece is little, but just take your time, and you will probably be feeling better about this by now because it all starting to make sense. So I'm just going to go ahead and screw all these in. And I would just like to formally apologize for how many shots there are in this video of just like my very poorly positioned and oddly angled arm. I'm sorry. I thought that doing it on this angle would give the best view, and I did not consider my own limbs in that. So I'm truly sorry. Okay, so we've got one on. So now we're gonna do one of the bottom ones. And like I said, the LED kind of like pops perfectly into place with these. Pretty easy. So I think after this one, I'm just gonna speed through the rest. So we're speeding through it, and what's great is it gets easier and easier as each one is connected. So now we're on the last one. So what I'm going to do now, they're all in. I'm going to plug in that wire to the top. You can get a good shot here. The top plug, just like that. And now everything is connected. And now all we have left to do is put the top back on to the base. So you want to flip your machine over again, just like how you started, line it all up, and you just replace the screws. There is a little detail again that's important. It's very easy to be slightly misaligned, and then your screw will be going into nothing, which is exactly what I'm doing here. And then I realize it. So then I go, oh, I better show them what I'm doing wrong. And I am going to show you, you want the holes to be lined up with, like, there's a small white tunnel made of white plastic on the inside of the machine that's there for the screw to catch. And you want it to be perfectly lined up with that. So here I'm going to show you a close-up of that. You can see there. If you don't see that white tunnel that I definitely showed you way too fast, sorry, then it's not going to catch. So just make sure you see that, line them up, take your time. And once you get one, it is easier and they're all lined up. Then you just finish it off. Okay, and so here's the last screw being put back in place. Big moment of truth. You turn over your lamp. And you get to plug it in, and you get to bask in the glory of the beautiful blue lights. Or purple, purple, blue, indigo. Gorgeous. We did it, guys. Thank you. I hope this helped.